lunch.
Huh?
So
I'm with you.
Well, I'm recording everybody coming back in. So,
Hi, Connie.
oh, look at everybody coming. Look at that.
And Michael Baker.
Hi, everybody.
Everybody at once. Woohoo!
And Tim Jessen. And Jonah, welcome.
How's everybody doing?
Bill
Hey,
and
we got back from our group, so that's always a good sign.
yes,
Yeah.
Hey, that was fun, being in a little group to get started there. It was sort of like table talk.
yes, that was the idea.
Excellent.
The intent.
We didn't
And
get
look
lost in cyberspace.
And Aaron and the others who are welcoming people. Ruth Albright's joining us today.
That's great. Great to see her.
When you see her,
We saw her come in earlier on.
okay, good.
And everybody should be back with us very soon.
Okay,
And my friend Len Tiemann's here from the Sunrise Club.
good.
Good morning.
Yes.
How's everyone?
And Mark
Hey.
Deborah, hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan.
My pleasure.
Fort Wayne.
And Bill Oates is joining us from Florida from our little group.
And Liz Irwin. Hi.
And Dr. Hadawi, thank you. Glad to see you.
Raj, great to see you too. Yeah.
Hi, Martha
And
Foster.
Ruth. And we will introduce, Jim Bright will introduce guests and visiting Rotarians.
Okay,
So this is great. We're about ready to get started. We have 45 here. Is there anyone still in one of the rooms?
No, I think that's it. We're all together now. And just as a reminder, when we start the meeting, if you wouldn't mind switching off your mic, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Ring a bell. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service for June 23rd, 2020. I'm the current club president for a few more days. Aaron Davis is my name, and it's great to have everyone here, including our special guests. And now I'll introduce Mike Baker to lead the pledge and provide a reflection.
Okay, everybody join me. I assume something's going to pop up on the screen. Okay, let's get started. I pledge allegiance to
The flag,
the United States,
United States of America,
to the republic,
the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under God,
under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible,
with liberty.
liberty,
and
justice for all.
Okay, good. Well, today my reflection is about everybody on the Zoom screen. And I sort of thought of that when we had our president's dinner. And I was thinking about some of the discussions the board has had about the value proposition of Rotary. Our meetings have been very well attended because of our programs, the energy in the room. We've had to change all that with the Zoom thing. But as I looked at the screen, I started just thinking about how many people on the screen I've asked for help at one time. Like Alon, Michael, Aaron, Sally, Ron, Katie, Dave, Tim, on and on and on, Michael, Jim Bright, Judy. And if I could flip to my next screen, there would be more people. And at some point, not just my Rotary year as president, I've been able to ask a favor or ask for some help or try to get some information about something from somebody in our Rotary Club. And every member offers us an opportunity to meet a new friend and to get help for something that we may need or to learn about something. And I think that is a great value proposition, but it takes a little bit of work. It's harder now to do than it is to rotate to different tables and try to get to meet people. But I think it's well worth the effort. And I think all of us have appreciated being able to look at the screen at least once a week see people. There's another screen. Hi, Natalie. And you just see a lot of friends, Ashley. I just go on and on and on. And so that's my reflection, is just how grateful I am that there still is a Rotary family out there, and they're willing to Zoom in at least once a week and get to say hello to everybody. And I hope everybody else appreciates what a great group of people all of you are and our club is. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mike. And now it's a great reflection, great group of people. I'll let you keep the microphone to do something really special.
Okay, thank you. Well, as we all know, the presentation of the Paul Harris Fellow recognition is the Rotary Foundation's way of expressing its appreciation for a substantial contribution of both financial and community service activities towards its humanitarian and educational programs. We all know that Paul Harris started this with 3 friends in 1905, and the Paul Harris Fellow a pin is named after him. The reality is that without funding, Rotary could not do the many things it does to improve lives all over the world. Sometimes we forget that it does take financial support to do good in the world, and that our contributions get matched and multiply the effect of giving. A contribution to the Rotary Foundation will have an impact on real people's lives all over the world. Contributions are investments in the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. Today, I and we have the honor and pleasure of recognizing our fellow Rotarian, Michael Wade, as our newest Paul Harris Fellow. Although quiet and reserved most of the time, Michael understands the math of giving, and in short, Rotary membership he's made a commitment to the Rotary Foundation. It gives me great pleasure to sort of in person present Michael with his first Paul Harris Fellow pin. Actually, he should be wearing my first Paul Harris pin, which I gave him last week during breakfast, because Rotary, I think, is still backed up and maybe we don't have everything yet. But anyhow, we'll get that sorted out in the future. Of course, Michael, with the COVID problems, understands why we're not meeting in person, so we will make that up to you, Michael. So please accept our congratulations and sincere thanks for your commitment to our common goals of world understanding and peace. And I hope everyone joins me in a warm welcome and thank you to Michael Wade, our newest Paul Harris Fellow.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Mike. And this is the pin that you passed to me at breakfast last Thursday, properly distanced and hand sanitized. And Natalie delivered a pin in a box to our mailbox yesterday or the day before. And so I'll get that back to Natalie.
Well, actually, give me my pin back.
Okay.
And you can have your pin now.
Okay. This is yours, though. So.
Yes.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, right? Okay. Well, thank you. And Michael, it's been so great to have you in the club. And, you know, I know that you were swamped with meetings, you know, at noontime. It happened to be with some of your scientific meetings. But it's always great to see you. And what you bring to this club is truly something very special. So congratulations. Now I want to acknowledge our greeters today. And it's a different configuration than usual because we were having, you know, basically table talk. And I hope that all went well. I'd like to thank Jim Bright, Michael Shermas, Ashley Sullivan, Katie Beck, and Alan Barker. And Alan and Michael, thank you especially for being co-producers of this extravaganza. Your help has been just amazing. And then Bob Zaltzberg is the roundabout reporter again for this week. We thank you so much for your efforts too. And now, Jim Bright, would you like to start with, we have a bunch of guests.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. It's great to see all of you on the screen here. Again, it's good to see Raj Hadawi, our newest and returning member. Raj, would you like to start by introducing your guest? Raj, are you there? Okay, we'll come back to Raj, but we're pleased to have with us today a number of guests. Ruth Albright. Ruth's late husband, David Albright, was a longtime member of this club and probably owns the all-time record for the most Rotary Club visits overseas. So Ruth, it's great to have you with us today. If you can see Ruth's frame there, she's holding a photo of David. I used to refer to him as Cousin David. I'm only bright, but he was truly all bright. So good to see you. Also, we're pleased to have with us Lynn Tiemann of Bloomington Sunrise. Lynn, welcome again. Glad to have you back. And Raj has rejoined us here now. Raj, you want to introduce the guests?
Yeah, I'm introducing today my good friend, Marcus Devereaux. Marcus, born and raised in Bloomington. He spent most of his adult life and prior to that as a basketball player for the high school. Then after graduating from college, he took a responsibility on his own to work through the boys clubs to instruct all kids, boys and girls. And when there is a branch open on the west side, he was an active and instrumental man in starting it and maintaining it, trying to build character as well as sportsmanship in the heart and the soul of these kids. Marcus currently is assistant principal for Bloomington High School North, and I was very pleased when he accepted to be a member of the Volunteer in Medicine Clinic Board about 7 years ago. He's been instrumental in guiding the clinic forward, and his outreach brought some needy patient for the clinic to care for. So I'm very pleased to introduce my friend as my guest.
Welcome, Marcus. Welcome.
Thank you, Raj, and welcome, Marcus.
Thank you so much.
Let's see, we were expecting some other guests as well as let's see, Sarah Laughlin, would you like to introduce your guest?
Yes, I'm really happy that Jonah Crismore could join us today. Jonah is the new executive director of the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater, who arrived on March 16th, 3 days after everything shut down in Bloomington. So he's been doing remarkable work in keeping the theater in front of the public, including the marquee fundraiser and other things. And we have big plans ahead, which I'll tell you more about in a few minutes. So I'm happy to introduce him. Hope he'll come back and speak to us sometime soon.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, Jonah. And let's see, also I wanted to welcome, special welcome to Josie Rice with Wheeler Mission. Josie is one of our organizational members there, and she's representing Wheeler Mission today. Many of you know Chris Michael Morrison's daughter is facing some serious health issues at a hospital in Indianapolis, but it's good to have you with us today, Josie. Anybody I'm overlooking? I know we were expecting some other guests today, and I don't see them on the screen. Okay, back to you, President Aaron.
Okay, well, Ashley or Katie, do you recognize anyone else who we didn't say hello to yet?
We got everyone.
Okay. Well, I saw Byron Banger, several people. We want to say hi to everyone. I hope the breakout rooms, as a little bit of table talk, got to help you get a sense that, people know your name. People are happy to see you.
Yeah, Aaron, I might mention we do have with us today Megan Gerhardt, who's president of the IU Bloomington chapter of Rotaract. And Rotaract is big time in the news these days. And effective July 1, they become full-fledged Rotarians. So it's great to have you with us, Megan.
Yes, Megan. And I want to mention that the resolution against racism that our board adopted has been signed on to by Megan and Marin from Rotary, as well as the co-presidents of our Bloomington High School South Interact Club. So we're pulling things together as Rotary, and it's an intergenerational effort. Rotaract is definitely at the center. Greetings to everyone who came, whether you're here on a phone and don't even have a microphone. We're just happy to have you here. I'd like to turn now to the Rotary family. We have a couple of birthdays. Julia Merkt on June 22nd, yesterday, and John Hobson, June 24th, tomorrow. So happy birthday. And membership anniversaries this week. Amy Osajima, 3 years in the club. And somebody else, President-elect Ashley Sullivan, 5 years today. 5 years. You've brought so much joy to this club and leadership. Rotarians in the news, as always, there are lots, so check the roundabout for a listing. But I want to note that Sam Bell, Rotarian and our past president from 1985 to 1986, is being honored by IU with the naming of their new cross-country course. Sam, the late Hall of Fame coach, led the IU track and field and cross-country teams to a total of 26 conference titles. So who remembers Sam being here at a meeting with us here? I mean, it's quite a gift. I also want to mention that this past Saturday's HT had an announcement of Jessica Haynes' new role as governor for Rotary District 6580, Jessica being in the Sunrise Club. And I also want to mention that Dr. Craig Spence is recovering from a stroke in town now, and he sends his regards. Jim Bright talked with him. Jim, would you like to just recount? I mean, because he's such a vital part again of this club.
Yeah, Craig suffered a stroke. I think it was on April the 29th. Spent considerable time in a hospital, St. Vincent's Hospital in Indianapolis, 2 rehab centers, and as Aaron mentions, he's now back in Bloomington over at Gentry Park in a assisted living arrangement there. He's also undergoing physical and speech therapy. He's made remarkable progress, and we join him in being hopeful that he will again someday be able to play classical music on that Steinway piano. He's a remarkable human being and a remarkable pianist.
Thanks, Jim. And now Rotary action updates. I'll just mention a little bit of it, but our board met for the final time in this Rotary year on June 18th. We passed a balanced budget for Ashley's year and adopted a resolution asking Rotary International to take action against racism. We will send this out to everyone today or tomorrow. We're also sending out a survey about membership preferences for meals and other meeting and social options in the future. Hopefully, we will have some kind of an in-person distance outdoor social gathering in July. So we're really thinking about it. We're not going to push the envelope beyond medical, guidelines, but we're definitely wanting to provide some opportunities to get together, because it's been really a strange time and not a happy time in that pandemic sense. Last Wednesday, we held our traditional past presidents gathering on Zoom, though, with 15 presidents welcoming Ashley Sullivan with greetings, support, and advice. It was very heartwarming. I also want to invite everyone this Thursday, as every Thursday we've been doing, a Rotary Cafe social hour, just to socialize and chat a bit. Let's see, we're doing okay. Please plan to attend our celebration of service on July 7th, which is going to be the changeover time. And yeah, I'll provide some reflections on my year as president, and Ashley Sullivan will kick off her presidential year with the theme of Rotary Opens Opportunities. I will recognize many members for their efforts and help, and including a presentation of the annual Service Above Self Award. And I want to note that thanks to Alan Barker's efforts, we have a YouTube channel. So our recordings of of these meetings will be available to anyone who misses them. Okay. Happy dollars. Do we have anyone who's happy about anything?
Owen. Okay.
Owen?
I'm happy because I had the privilege of meeting Sam Bell when he was track coach at Oregon State University in the 1960s. In fact, his Beaver team competed with Washington State University in a dual meet that we televised on what would now be KWSU TV. I did the play-by-play, and a colleague roamed the field and did interviews with, among other people, Sam Bell.
Charlotte.
Charlotte, yes.
Yeah. I have a happy dollar to honor in honor of Marcus Devereaux, whose mother Lola was the first. She was very involved in community action program in the 70s, and she was appointed to the hospital board in the 70s. She was the first African American, and the hospital board just went crazy. They said she can't do that. She's not up to it. It was it was a terrible situation. She remained on the board. She persisted, let's say, and she became a very important part of the hospital board, opening the hospital board's eyes to what was happening with African Americans in the community. So I honor Marcus and in particularly because he had a great mother who set him on the right path.
I have a happy dollar to see Marcus because I had him in class as a graduate student, and he always was a great student, and as I can see, an outstanding person for our community. So I'm really glad to put a happy dollar forward for Marcus. I'm glad he's here.
Thank you, Professor Barnes.
Jim Bright.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Ray Briggs has joined us. Ray is the incoming president for the Bedford Rotary Club. Awesome little club there. No club in Southern Indiana is more committed to Rotary Youth Exchange than the Bedford Rotary Club. So welcome, Ray Briggs.
Aaron?
Kate.
Yeah, I'd like to put a happy dollar in just to celebrate that I'm finally getting some time to work on the Rotary Archives. And I've been going through boxes of the 1950s, in particular 1960s, and I just want to plant a seed in any mind that is interested in writing a history of the Rotary Club. The 1950s newsletters are full of tidbits of very early history from somebody named King Cole, from King Cole's diary. And every newsletter has some wonderful thing from 1919 or 1923 and some little anecdote. And I've looked at that and I thought, for somebody who wanted to write the history of Rotary, there's the potential to write a really rich and entertaining one, starting with those 1950 newsletters. I'll tell you all more about it as I finish, get through things, but that I've just been so excited about that particular box that I wanted to let you know about that.
Great. And anyone else? Either a member or a guest. Katie Beck.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who
came to our online show on Saturday of my husband David's band. They had a release party on YouTube, a live stream. So that was an interesting experiment. We had definitely some technical learning challenges, but it was really fun. It was a really hot day. They were outside in the woods playing music and people tuning in from all over the world. So we had friends sending pictures of watch parties in Wisconsin and Costa Rica, and it was really fun. So thanks to everyone who did that. And yeah, hoping for more music online or in person soon.
Good.
And did we get a full introduction for Jonah Crismore? Okay, want to welcome you. Welcome, Marcus. Phil.
I'm very happy because I've been able to relocate 11 chipmunks and 13 squirrels to a wooded area about 1.3 miles from my house.
Wow.
Where did you put them?
I think he put them
in a wooded area.
I wanted to add that King Cole was Reverend A. Elliston Cole, former president of the club and a district governor. I'll put some information on him in the chat room.
Great, thank you. Well, I think it's time for Michael Shermis to introduce today's program, which is a little change, but it sounds wonderful. I'm really excited. Michael.
Thanks, Aaron. So sometimes as the program chair, you get to pivot. And today we're going to unfortunately not be able to see our originally scheduled speaker, Jonah Crismore. So with a half flip and with a twist, we're going to do a little different program. Today is going to be an arts panel. And we are going to call it Arts in Bloomington Now. And it is going to be emceed by Connie Shakalis. And we are going to have three of our own members, Alon Barker and Sarah Laughlin and Sally Gaskell, who are going to be part of the panel. They're going to give a couple minutes each probably, and then do some back and forth, and hopefully we'll be able to get some questions on the end. We thought it might be nice to talk about specifically the Waldron and what's going to happen with it, as well as how art makers are dealing with challenging times in COVID times. And I suspect other topics will come up along the way. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Connie, and she's going to lead our panel. Connie?
Thank you, Michael. Gosh, what better way to wake up than to get a phone call from Jim Bright saying, you have to talk about and listen to stuff about theater this morning and afternoon. Oh my gosh, so I'm sure all four of us panelists have been in a spin this morning trying to prepare. So please excuse me for anything I might omit. We will each introduce I will introduce the other panelists. We will each then spend 2 to 3 minutes speaking, and then the panelists will speak and communicate with one another. And after that's over, we'll have a question and answer period from the audience. So thank you, Aaron Davis. Our panelists are Alan Barker from the IU Jacobs School of Music and also very active in the Center for Rural Engagement. Sally Gaskell from Cardinal Stage, and the fabulous Voces Nove, which was one of the best things I ever saw in my 3 years of reviewing for the Herald Times. That was truly one of the best performances last year. Voces Nove, fabulous at the downtown in that restaurant. Sarah Laughlin from Buskirk, Chumley, and Teacher's Warehouse. And I'm Connie Shakalis. I'm not quite as interloping as I may seem. I am going to join Rotary perhaps this week. I am a past Actors Equity Association performer. I'm a current performer. I'm the theater reviewer for the Herald Times. Oh no, and I'm a freelance writer. So Alan Barker, would you please give us 2 to 3 minutes of your thoughts on what you think are some of the big issues in theater in Bloomington?
Okay, hi everybody. Well, I'll be relatively short and then hand it over to Sally, who I think will give us a sort of a foundation of the conversation for the day. But I will say that having been in Bloomington for more than 30 years, I arrived here as a student in the Jacob School of Music, really not knowing very much about this absolutely amazing town. And slowly through the years, as I was able to intersect with more and more of the community, I became aware of how important and critical the arts are to the foundation of what a community might be and what the community's health is all about. And through the years, I watched the formation of the Waldron Arts Center. I watched an incredible renaissance of arts organization development in Bloomington in parallel with the devotion and care and commitment that so many people made to the revitalization of downtown Bloomington, the square, the community as a whole, and really sort of the blossoming of the arts in Bloomington. And you know, it's had a profound impact on the way that I think about the arts. I arrived here as a devoted classical musician, hoping to, you know, get my skills going and then maybe fly off somewhere and perform in various locations around the world. And little did I realize that the real strength and beauty and substance of what I would experience in town in relation to the arts was about Bloomington and about this community and the impact this community has on the region as a whole. And so I think sometimes we take for granted the beauty of the arts, and we treasure and enjoy and celebrate the creativity of the artists around us. And we sometimes, I think, take for granted that arts infrastructure and arts development really goes hand in hand with a vital economy, a healthy city, a community that learns how to listen. And so I just wanted to thank you all, you know, in your own ways for being so supportive of the arts through the years. It's really been an extraordinary time for me. So that's my little story to say how important the arts are. And I'm going to hand it over to Sally.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. So I'm like Alan, I'm a lifetime arts administrator and musician. I'm going to focus my thoughts on the last 3 months and how extraordinary it's been to be on several boards of directors of local nonprofit arts organizations in this time of COVID-19. So I'll start with Cardinal Stage Company. I was one of the founding board members for Cardinal. I rotated off because that's what you do on a high-performing board. And then I came back on about 3 years ago, and I'm currently the vice president of the board. So imagine this, here's Cardinal Stage. We're our $1 million small equity theater company with a huge annual operating budget and production plan. And suddenly we can't produce theater anymore. So in March, we canceled 3 main stage performances, 2 adult performances, 1 children's performance production, and then also our annual gala. And we had to just totally pivot to think about what it is to be a theater company when we can't get together and produce theater. So our mission was totally banged. I mean, the good news is theater people are very nimble, and our leadership, which is Gabe Gloden, managing director, and Kate Galvin, the artistic director, have been incredibly adaptive to bringing new adventuresome creative experiences to Bloomington in safe and special settings. So Cardinal hopes to return to producing theater next spring, but that's a long time from now. So stay tuned about what we're able to do. The other organization that I'll talk about, Connie, thank you for the cred for Voces Novae. Voces Novae is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I've sung with this small chamber choir for 15 years now. I've always been a choral singer. And I just became the president of the board. Choral singing, you know, we're super spreaders. We're not going to be able to sing in a group until there's a vaccine and everybody's got it. So talk about having to rethink your mission in life. That's been really dramatic. And then in the midst of all of this, Alan was very modest and did not talk about his extraordinary role with the Bloomington Early Music Festival, which I'm also on the board of. Bland did an amazing job of taking a 10-day in-person festival to becoming an totally online and majorly produced festival in the spring of 2020 with audiences tuning in from all over the world. So that was very cool. But in the midst of all of this COVID impact, we have the announcement from Ivy Tech Bloomington that they would like to return the Waldron Arts Center to the city of Bloomington. So just briefly, I want to share the history of the Waldron and then of course turn things over to
Sally, could I just stop you here and we'll come back to that?
Oh, sure. No
Because I
problem.
don't want to run out of time for everybody. So we'll come back to the Waldron because that's a big deal.
Okay, I'm done.
Sarah, would you take 2 or 3 minutes to tell us some of your big issue concerns about local theater?
Yes, I was very pleased to be invited today. Can you hear me? I don't see myself. Okay, and I just want to start out by saying that at the Buskirk Chumley, as I mentioned, our new director hit the door 3 days after Bloomington received a stay-at-home order, and so the theater has been dark since then. And so the first few weeks were taken up with canceling shows and refunding money. And Jonah asked me to say that we are so very grateful to those people who donated their canceled ticket refund to the theater. It was a very large number of people, and that all helped the theater stay afloat during this time. We've also taken advantage of all the funds for emergency support from the United Way to the Arts Commission to the PPP loans or grants, federal money. And so we're still holding on and very anxious to get back to the business of hosting exciting performances at the Buzzkirk Chumley. We've been working away on the processes for reopening. As you can imagine, that reopening a theater, especially an old 100-year-old theater, will be the last thing that reopens because it's a lot of people, 600-seat capacity theater where people are sitting right next to each other. But we're working hard on that plan, and in fact, we're going to begin with a film series on July 10th, test our processes and see how that works and who's ready to come back. We have a couple other virtual shows in the hopper that should be announced next week, and I think you're going to be very excited when you see those. I'll be sure to do a happy dollar when they're ready. And we're talking about a local music series that would be for younger audiences and maybe in the late summer or fall. So we're also concerned about the Waldron closing. We're a theater management board, and so there may be opportunities for us as that goes forward, and for the other groups in town to make sure that the Waldron still exists. We don't want to lose it.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And now I will take my 2 to 3 minutes. I've got my stopwatch here. Stop me if I go over. As much as I hate to say this, as a performer, I think the future for live theater is going to have to be digital. We're way behind Europe on this. They've been doing the digital theater, preparing for it for the last 15 years. We're just late to the game. Unfortunately, with digital theater, we lose the humanity, which is putting live performers with live audience members. And there's just, in my opinion, no substitute for that. I was a member of Actors Equity Association for 33 years, and I know that the theaters here that sometimes use union, that's the Union for Actors, are certainly Cardinal, sometimes BBP, IU, especially in their summer stuff. That's, I think, going to have to change because Actors Equity now requires that the epidemic must be under control before a theater reopens. For example, the union stipulates there must be few, if any, new cases in the area. Now, for places like New York and Chicago and even Indianapolis, that's going to be impossible for months or even years. So my fear is that Bloomington is going to have to stop using equity actors, which is too bad. The other theater I don't want us to forget is the Jewish Theater of Bloomington. I invited Audrey Heller to be my guest today. Of course, I invited a 1 hour notice. As someone mentioned earlier, yes, you could do smaller casts, but then you're hurting your actors. You're not hiring as many actors. You can put spaces between your seats, but then you're hurting the profits of the business. There is something that I would like for you to all look at when we're done. It's called Play Per View. If you don't know about it, it's playperview.com. It's an organization leveraging innovation in the digital age, which of course we're immersed in, and it offers one-time only events, including play readings, monologues, panel discussions, and it provides live streamed content for.
Oops, I think we might have lost Connie. So, I mean, maybe Sally, if you would like to jump in, and perhaps we could move into the conversation about the Waldron.
Sure. I'm not sure how many fellow Rotarians are aware of this, but about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Ivy Tech Bloomington announced that it was going to be returning the ownership and operation of the John Waldron Arts Center in downtown Bloomington to the city. So briefly, the history of that building is that Beaux-Arts building from about 1905 was Bloomington's original city hall. And it was then a police station and various other city things until around 1990, when the city deeded the building to the then Bloomington Area Arts Council to make an arts center for community residents out of it. And so it's been a multidisciplinary arts center ever since 1990. The Bloomington Area Arts Council ran it until the year 2010. And then they went out of business, sadly. And Ivy Tech stepped in and bought the building for $150,000, which was valued then at about $1 million. So that was a pretty good deal. And I think Ivy Tech did a really good job of stewarding the building through its last 10 years. And we're sorry that they're no longer able to afford it. And so now, without really much preparation, the city is in the position of accepting the building back. The city has not been able to, at this point, present much to the community about what its plans are. It's going to take time, frankly, for the mayor and his team of economic and sustainable development and arts people, as well as the city council, to figure out what to do with the Waldron. But from the perspective of the local arts community, it's absolutely imperative that we have those spaces. Cardinal Stage takes about 50% of the 2 performance spaces at the Waldron every year for its productions. In addition to the 2 performance spaces, there is the Rosemary Miller Gallery, which is the finest gallery space in Bloomington and has been for 30 years. There are all the classroom spaces where arts programs have been taught for so many years to children and adults. There's a ceramics lab and so on and so forth. So at this point, arts advocates in the community have rallied, and we're simply sending support messages to the city leadership to say, please, we need to ensure that the John Waldron Arts Center remains an arts facility for the future. Alan, do you want to add anything about that?
No, just to reiterate how incredibly important the Waldron is within the sort of ecosystem of Bloomington that is the arts. You know, people often talk about Indiana University being so full of resources and the richness of the productions and the locations and the performance facilities that Indiana University has. But if you compare Bloomington to a lot of other college towns around the U.S., there's very often this this unfortunate distinction between the power and richness and beauty of a campus, and then the resources that are available to the community around a campus. And I think Bloomington in some ways is unique in that over the past 20, 25 years, there's been this serious devoted commitment to the development of the arts as an integral and essential part of Bloomington. And that includes the facilities, and includes the Buskirk Chumley Theater. And that facility also has a very interesting history in terms of how the city, the community, and other organizations and individuals rallied around the idea of the Buskirk Chumley Theater being such an important anchor for community arts development. And likewise, the John Waldron Arts Center has been this gem in the middle of Bloomington that has really been one of the foundations of what makes Bloomington Bloomington. And so I think it's not only something that we passionately feel about, obviously, being artists, but I think it's an essential part of Bloomington in terms of its health and well-being, that the Waldron continues to function as a vital arts facility.
Excuse me, is the Bloomington area, is the Bloomington Commission, whatever it is, the City Commission for the Arts, are they participating in the discussion?
The Bloomington Arts Commission, yes, that's, as Charlotte points out, that's the citizen group that advises city administration and council on arts development in the community. So I'm having a meeting with them tomorrow to talk about the history of the Waldron, and yes, they're definitely going to be advocating alongside the rest of the community. There's a newish group in Bloomington called Arts Forward Bloomington, and it's made up of most of the professional arts leaders in town. Jonah, you're probably a member of that group. And they're, along with other individuals and organizations, they're planning a joint letter to the city administration to support the Waldron as an ongoing arts facility.
That'll require a lot of talking, I guess.
Yeah. And it's probably worth talking, Sarah, about the history of the Buskirk Chumley. So when I arrived in Bloomington in 2000, the arts community was in a bit of a free fall because the Bloomington Area Arts Council had been running the John Waldron Arts Center for only 10 years, but in the previous 3 years, since 1997, it had been raising money and renovating the Buskirk Chumley, which had been given to it by Carasotis Theaters, of all things. So when I got here in the summer of 2000, I was witnessing the free fall, as I said, of the Buskirk Chumley. At that point, it was threatened with closing because the Bloomington Area Arts Council was about to go out of business because they'd raised not enough money by a long shot to keep the theater operating. So the city stepped in under Mayor John Fernandez, and he appointed a Blue Ribbon Commission to study the situation. And the result of that was that the city became responsible for the maintenance, ongoing capital expenditures of the Buskirk Chumley Theater. And at the same time, a new nonprofit, Buskirk Chumley Management, Inc., was put together to run the day-to-day operations. And the BCT Management, Inc. is what Sarah is now vice president of, and Jonah is now the new executive director. So, I mean, 20 years on, that's been a model that's had some bumps along the way, but certainly we've got the Buskirk Chumley as that amazing community gathering place in the middle of downtown on Kirkwood. And I mean, ideally, I'd like the city to consider something like that again with the Waldron. The reason that the Bloomington Area Arts Council went out of business was because it could not afford the ongoing maintenance issues to that building. I managed that building between 2000 and 2005 when I was director of the BAAC. And I can tell you there's about 10,000 square feet of usable space, all of it dedicated to the arts, 3 or 4 different HVAC systems, just, you know, crazy stuff. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that Ivy Tech may have not been able to keep up adequately with some of the ongoing capital needs that are in the works there as well. So
Yeah, that's what we understand, that there's deferred maintenance. So it's not just a matter of renting the facility and doing the day-to-day, but really of protecting an aging building, which is always it's a challenge at the Buzzkirk Chumley.
Yeah.
You know, from year to year. And so to have that, I see it as an insurmountable opportunity. We must figure out a way to do it. But why did it have to come right in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, no kidding.
So I think we're all standing by until the city announces some sort of an opportunity to write a proposal or some sort of a general plan for what they want to do.
A blue ribbon committee.
That's probably a good idea.
Should we open it up for questions from the group since we only have a couple more minutes left?
Absolutely. Questions?
You just heard me. Blue ribbon committee. I would do that now. I would
That's
create
like a good idea.
Yeah, pulling in people from a large group of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
Are there
with substance.
I want to just quickly say, one thing, and that is that, again, if you harken back to what Bloomington was like, say 20, 25, 30 years ago,
yes.
We have between ourselves now the ability to handle this crisis as a city. Yes. I'm very confident that with the realization from the university that its involvement in the city is extremely important, and the resources that we have and the track record of successful organizations developing in Bloomington, and also a city government that believes in the essential nature of the arts, I believe that we are in a position now to rally around and find a solution.
Alan, I would be interested in your take on how the inability to perform live is going to affect what IU does with the performing arts. Are the students going to perhaps change majors? I mean, there are going to be limits on what they can learn here.
And that feels like a full 1 hour conversation. But the short of it is that there's going to be a hybrid semester going forward. This coming fall, there's a lot of discussion and deep thought about how we can make it work. And I believe that there will be a partial solution until we know how soon the vaccine comes our way, and that we can consider a full solution beyond that. I'd be happy to talk about that at length, perhaps a little later.
I think what I would just add to that is that across the arts spectrum, in town, at the university, and nationally, internationally, my sister is a graphic designer, and her friends they've been meeting online for some really exciting artist talks. I think the creativity of that group is unparalleled, and there are starting to be some really exciting developments in how to be creative in this new way that are going to be really exciting over the next year or two, I think.
And we have time to think about it.
And Connie is back. Connie, could you, do you have the bandwidth to take over again?
Yes, we're unstable. We keep getting these messages. You are unstable. I hope that's referring to our internet. Are we done? Are we almost done?
Question.
Just about.
Question.
But we have some more time for questions.
Oh, good. Does anyone have a question? Did Ruth Albright ask a bright question? Ruth, you promised you would ask a good question.
I'll ask a question of Sarah and Jonah, if he wants to join in, just about the capacity of the Buskirk Chumley, the management group, to take over the Waldron as well. The possibility that the one management group could manage both facilities.
I mean, I think that if going forward, just because of the pandemic and the
kind of realizing the vulnerabilities of all the arts groups right now, we're going to have to go into any kind of big endeavors like this together and united. I've been talking with Gabe and Kate at the from Cardinal, talking to BPP and a few other arts organizations about, you know, what does a united front look like? Does that mean that maybe the Buskirk Chumley is going to be kind of, you know, as far as like, you know, running a facility, because that's something that we do really, really well, is we manage the facility. And then maybe we have other arts groups as kind of resident companies of that. You know, those are all kind of the conversations that we're trying to have, and actually have a phone call in a few minutes actually about just, you know, going over some of those thoughts and talking, you know, like with people like Sean Starwitz from the city and everything, just to keep them all informed about what we're thinking moving forward, but also not trying to overextend ourselves at this point when we're all kind of feeling the crunch of, you know, not being able to do what we do best, which is, you know, bringing people together, you know, during this time. So I think everybody's being very strategic and pragmatic about it, and also just having, you know, understanding that this is going to take, I believe, you know, the whole arts community of Bloomington coming together and to make our case to ensure that that remains an arts facility.
I guess I'd like to add that in my 20 years of working in the arts in Bloomington, I've never seen the organizations working together quite so collaboratively. I mean, we've got everything at stake, and we are definitely working with the same purpose in mind, which is wonderful.
I'd like to invite everyone who has time to stay after we have our brief closing and have some more conversation, even just, you know, social talk, getting to know each other. But first, I'd like to thank Connie and our panel. And in honor of the presentation today, we're going to give a donation to Centerstone, a United Way agency. And now, Ashley Sullivan, will you please tell us about next week?
Sure. We'll be meeting here on June 30th on Zoom and continue our experiment that we tried today with the breakout room for social greetings. I thought that went really well and looking forward to doing that again. It'll be comparable to when we first arrived at Frangipani. So next week's speaker will be Dr. Chandan Sen, the Stanley Battersby Chair and Professor of Surgery, Director of the Indiana Center for Regenerative Medicine and Engineering, and Associate Vice President for Research at the Indiana University School of Medicine. Professor Sen will talk about his internationally acclaimed work in the electroceutical management of infection, so it'll be really interesting. Steve Engel will introduce them, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone here.
Right, and feel free to introduce, to bring other guests and invite people to come from the media, from other clubs, you know, and people who have that interest in the, you know, entrepreneurial side of investing in this new development, which has really captured the imagination of the world.
And Aaron, can we just do can I just interrupt as a program person? The fact that all of the people that jumped in at the very last minute, can we just give them a round of applause? Say thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And my thought of the week turns us back to peace. Peace is not something you wish for. It's something you make, something you do, something you are, and something you give away. That's from John Lennon. And now, if you'll join me to recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And is it fun?
Is it fun?
Thank you.
Okay, so
Nice.
please, you know, stick around, and share some more thoughts on the arts or just on how we're all doing with COVID. I don't know if we had a full discussion, Sally, on the response to COVID in the arts, but there are some things that are happening that are opportunities because of technology.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that Cardinal Stage is doing that I really love is Kate Galvin has put together a play reading group, and it meets tomorrow for the second time. It's a once a month thing. And we're discussing, we each read the same play, and it's free. And tomorrow is a Lauren Gunderson play. She's the most produced playwright in the United States currently. And she's going to be joining us from LA. So woot,
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Wow, that's amazing. That's another thing that's been happening, is that all of these artists who are normally busy running around performing are suddenly available to involve themselves in discussions with other artists around the country, students, emerging artists, and it's been extraordinary to see this sort of outpouring of generosity amongst musicians as they've reconnected with each other, and other artists as they've reconnected with each other.
And visual artists as well, yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, theater is again pretty well hurt because, for example, I have a dear friend who's a longtime equity actor and lives in Bloomington, but performs mostly at the IRT in Indianapolis. I mean, his work is totally dried up. He usually goes off in the summers and does summer Shakespeare festivals. And, you know, fortunately, he's got equity pension happening, but that's it. Jim.
Yeah, seeing Marcus Devereaux on the screen here makes me wonder, will South and North high school theater programs have to face some of the same kinds of restrictions that IU and VPP and Cardinal are facing?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that the school board will be discussing at the school board meeting, and of course, Dr. DeMuth.
And jazz band, just bands.
Right.
How do you have a band or an orchestra? Yeah.
And choral ensembles.
Yeah. No singing.
Well, Alan has shown some performances and the capacity to create performances using Zoom and other technologies. There's some hope there. I mean, we're pretty resilient. People are going to continue to create.
My hope is that we'll get through this. You know, the vaccine will become available. You know, perhaps in a year's time, we'll be back to some semblance of reconnecting with the physical spaces that we occupied and doing the sorts of things. But for me, and this is in no way, you know, contrary to the devastation of the arts world and the lives of professional artists around the world. I mean, it's just been absolutely devastating. But my hope is that as we come out of this, as Connie was mentioning earlier on, there's this realization that we're in a sense behind the curve in the performing arts as well, in terms of what we can do within media, within the virtualization of culture, creating things in different ways by mixing and matching different art forms. And my sense is that this is, you know, Sarah was mentioning this as well, this is an incredibly innovative time right now. We're seeing the most amazing artistry coming out of visual artists, theater performers, musicians, you name it. And so I think that the world that we're living in right now really has shifted, you know, and that we will come out the other side being able to do a whole lot more and perhaps thinking about the world in a much different way than we were before.
Can I say, at the risk of bringing this up, that as the discussion moves forward, it seems to me the whole issue of the convention center, God help us, has got to be looked at, because a lot of the money that was going to go to that now has gone to organizations or businesses in town. And it seems to me that has to be taken into consideration in the discussion, and maybe the money should be diverted to things that are already here.
There's also the redevelopment of the hospital area, which is going to be a big challenge for the city of Bloomington.
I think it will all just slow down a little bit. It won't, I think that it'll happen eventually, but it may not happen on the timeline that we anticipated. I think all those rainy day funds that everybody was holding on to so tightly, we finally have realized this is a rainy day and we need to use them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wondered if any of the panelists or others have any thoughts on the Lotus International Music Festival.
It's
You
not
know,
helpful.
I know Sally, you mentioned, you know, unleveled levels of cooperation and teamwork between the organizations. Is Lotus a part of that cooperation or no?
I could say from the Buskirk Chumley side of things that they are, you know, we're still talking with Lotus about possibly involving our stage in some virtual capacity. So, you know, I think, you know, this year is going to be interesting. It's going to be innovative, but I think we're all like trying to, you know, again, at the end of the day, we're all trying to ensure that all the organizations in this ecosystem continue to do what it is, carry out their mission, and that means us as a venue making sure that we are accommodating and also just figuring that and also being kind of problem solvers for everybody if they want to use our space in a way that it's never been used before.
Thank you, Jonah.
Okay, and I do want to invite Jonah and Marcus to come back often. We'd love to have you you know, come back again.
It's great to see you all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
Thank you, Connie, and thank you, other panelists and guests. Marcus, thank you so much for being here today. And Joe, to come back anytime. I would add my second to that from President Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's great to see you, Jonah. Really very special to have you with us.
Okay. Well, thank you.